I'm currently standing on this pedestrian bridge right in downtown Hillsborough. This is the beautiful Eno River and something pretty cool is going on here. So you see all of these cages. There are little native trees and shrubs in each one of them. This is a project by, I don't know if you can see that sign, but it's the tree board for the town of Hillsborough, and Project Pando is also working on them with this project. We contributed some trees and have been chatting with them about their process and what this space will look like. So part of the reason why this site was chosen is because it's so visible. Here's this pedestrian bridge again. Lots of people walk by. It's a good opportunity for people to see this sort of native restoration in process. And this site was important because that is a tree of heaven tree that was cut down by the town, and we're trying to introduce native species to take its place, because if we don't, I can show you this. These are little sprouts of tree of heaven that are coming back, and we hopefully these native trees and shrubs will create a strong canopy and hold back the tree of heaven from reestablishing. I like the diversity they planted. This is a possible holly. This is an ash. This is a hackberry. Another hackberry. There's a water oak there. There's a willow oak there. Lots of diversity, and we'll see which one works best. But again, we need to plant a lot so they can create a canopy quick and outcompete the tree of heaven. This cage design is also really nice. I know the volunteers cut their own bamboo stakes, then they drive a rebar into the ground to sort of establish a hole, and then they can pound the stakes in, and then they just cut this simple I think it's 2" by 1" welded wire fence. Again, you don't need it to be very large, just to protect it from the deer. And they use a little bit of wire to attach the cage to the stake. And they don't close them all the way, so you're still able to open this cage really easily if you need to weed or something like that. And this will work really well to protect from deer for the first few years. They'll likely be reusable, and they've said they've had big floods come through and the cages have held their own. So really cheap, simple design will protect a smaller tree and give it a fighting chance. Some trees and shrubs are uncaged, like this false indigo bush. It would be interesting to talk to the volunteers about how those are surviving. It would be nice to also work with trees and shrubs that don't need a cage and can do well on their own. To me, this site looks really beautiful, and I'd like to see how open it is with all of these little cages and all of these trees that will grow. And if you're looking for a site like this, you may have to do a lot of work to get it. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all piles of brush that were removed. I think all of this was invasive species that were removed to make room for this planting. I really like this too. So the group had some extra trees that they weren't quite ready to plant out, or they wanted to grow a little bigger for various reasons. So this is a makeshift nursery. They plant the trees here, let them establish for 1 year, and then they'll dig them up and plant them out in the landscape if they need to fill in extra gaps, if they've learned about extra spaces, if a certain species is working better than others. Lots of different options with this nursery reserve. And once you get a project like this going, it can really start rolling quickly, especially if you learn a little bit about propagation. So this is that false indigo bush plant again. It's doing really well. It's grown about 1 foot or probably even more this season. So next season, I expect it to explode. It could get 4 or 5 foot tall, easy next season. And this one works really well from cuttings. So I wouldn't cut any from it this year, but next year you could definitely take cuttings and even try live staking. So plant them in different areas around this project, or put them in the nursery and have a lot more plants to expand your plantings.